A report released last week by the National Commission on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice found an 8.1% jump in domestic violence since the beginning of the pandemic. One of the study's authors, UCF professor Katie Cochran, says this is an alarming increase.
We had been in a decline over the last almost 20 to 30 years in domestic violence. So right around the early 1990s, when we started having hotlines, domestic violence shelters, the expansion of mandatory arrests, we really were beginning to make inroads to reducing domestic violence. And so this does pull us back a little bit.
Cochran also says the study finds are only the tip of the iceberg of what's really happening. She says many women do not report domestic violence because they are afraid of the consequences.
Home is where they should feel safe, but for some women, home is where they feel worthless, anxious, and scared.
Cochran says the stressors of the pandemic, such as high unemployment rates, makes it even harder for women to leave an abusive home. Bethany Becks, a researcher at UCF's Violence Against Women faculty cluster, says the pandemic also created what she calls domestic violence perfect storm.
Domestic violence happening at certain levels, but then it's exacerbated by COVID and suddenly becomes much more higher levels of severity in terms of injury and other risks.
Becks is currently working on a project to build housing for domestic violence survivors, a place where they can go and finally feel safe. In Orlando, Taina Brito, UCF Nightly News.